Hello, psychology scholars. Welcome to this class of psychology today, and let's just start Neo-Freudians. See, what did the Neo-Freudians or the students of Freud did? They expanded his theory. They reduced the focus on sexual and aggressive drives. Freud is criticized for too much focusing on sexual and aggressive tendencies. Next, they focused on human values of creativity and also emphasized that all of us have some goal in life and want to be, in relation to others, or we are social human beings. And he focused on personal growth. The Neo-Freudians, they focused on personal growth, culture and conscious self. So now one by one I am going to take up the very short description of Neo-Freudians which are mentioned in your NCERT. So let's start straight away with Carl Jung. His psychology is called analytical psychology. He has emphasized aspiration along with the instinct. Freud has talked about eros and thanatos. Now he has talked about those also, plus he has talked about aims and aspirations which all of us have in life. Then the key concepts of Jung include collective unconsciousness. Now let's try to understand how this collective unconsciousness is different from Freud's unconsciousness. Freud's unconsciousness was included repressed desires and sexual tendencies, whereas this includes the inherited archetypes, the symbols which are inherited from generation, which pass from generation to generation, like Mother Earth. These are all universal symbols, and all strives for unity in wholeness in collective unconsciousness of Jung. Next is, the last point at this, according to Jung, the personality was the sum total of whatever goes inside us. That is why he said, for healthy development of personality, balancing of inner forces, inner competing forces, be it id, ego, superego, that is more required than how the individual adjusts with his reality or the demands of the society. Okay, so with this we complete Jung, and let's turn to Karen Horney. Karen Horney was the student of Freud and epitome of optimism and social influence. She criticized the Freud's view of gender bias. Freud has talked about that males are more superior than females. She said that the main cause of disturbance is not this. Both the genders have equal role to play, whereas the main cause of disturbance or basic anxiety is disturbed parent-child relationship and hostility that arises in the children against the parents. Our focus should be on approval and self-actualization as well as equal gender treatment. Okay, so now let's turn to the other Alfred Adler, individual psychology. According to him, all of us have purpose in life, and all our behavior starting from morning till the night is goal directed, and personality is covered in it. And he has talked about the basic problem in the personality arises from the inferiority complex in the childhood. So each one of us somehow, sometime or the other in our childhood have experienced this inferiority complex according to Alfred Adler. Okay, now let's talk about Eric Fromm. He considered human beings as social beings as we are, and he focused his concepts on relationship and culture. That is, personality is influenced by the culture in which an individual lives in, and we all have that desire for freedom that strives us to go higher and higher. Personality is equal to social conditions into personal choices which we make when we get the freedom. Okay. Next we talk about Erik Erikson. So Erik Erikson, if you remember in class 11 when I was teaching you chapter Human Development, I had taught you about psychosocial stages of development which Erikson has talked about when we were talking about attachment bond. Okay, he has talked about 8 stages of psychosocial development, the first being mistrust and trust. Now let's see what you have to remember for class 12 syllabus. Erik Erikson has always talked about that development is a lifelong process, and a key challenge which an individual faces in adolescence is related to his stages of development, the stage number 5, identity versus role confusion. All adolescents, according to him, face this issue, who am I and what I am for. So when an individual resolves this conflict, then his personality is healthy. If he is unable to resolve this conflict, then he experiences problems in his personality according to Erik Erikson. Now let's talk about the criticism of psychodynamic theories in short. As discussed in your NCERT, they lack scientific rigor. They are, the sample of Freud was only the clinical patients, as well as he has given more importance to the males. So, biased sample as well as gender bias can be seen in his theories, for which it has been criticized. And then whatever concepts he has defined, they are all not properly defined. So his theories has been criticized. Moreover, I find, and as you must have seen in the comment of the last video, that all these stages of psychosexual development, they also are influenced by the culture in which we live. Okay, and I had pointed out in the comment only. Now let us start with the behavioral approach, and you would be finding that this is the approach which is more objective and more definable than the psychodynamic approach. It does not focus on internal dynamics. It focuses on DOM behavior. DOM means anything that is definable, observable and measurable. And as you know, Watson has brought behavior into psychology. Prior to him, the psychology was the study of mind. You must have seen that in class 11th also, when you were taught about the behavioral psychologists like Skinner, Watson and Pavlov, they have focused their attention on SR connections. Now these SR connections, they satisfy some or the other need, and our personality is shaped by our responses as these responses are reinforced. Okay, so for this I would like you all to refer to class 11th psychology book, and if you have any question on behavioral approach, then you are free to ask. And till now, if you haven't subscribed my channel, I think I deserve the subscription. Okay, so now let's proceed to cultural approach in this video only. Now you see, personality is the response to culture plus ecological factors. Factors, for example, climate or flora and fauna or availability of food will shape economic activity, social structure, child rearing practices and settlement patterns. Now let's understand them by the examples also. But before that, let me explain you one term, that is economic maintenance system, which also affects us. That is how we earn a living, influences our cultural value and the behavioral trait. Okay, for example, if I am a teacher, the behavioral traits that I am going to develop in the children would differ from that of the farmer. In your NCRT, the Behavioural tribe example is given. They are all nomadic people and they are hunters. So the children are also hunters and they are independent. The traits which you see in their personality is independence and autonomy or the freedom. Whereas in agricultural societies, you will be finding that the farmer children are more obedient to elders and they are more nurturing and they are more responsible. They have feeling of cooperation with others, which is missing in hunters' children. So you see how the culture affects our personality and personality traits. Next, in the last, so according to cultural approach, personality is our adjustment to social and ecological environment. Okay, now let's take up humanistic approach in short. Now you see, humanistic approach, humanistic psychologists, they had positive aspect of human beings. They were not negative as Freud. They didn't focus their attention on aggressive tendencies. They told us that human beings, they are very positive beings and they have that inner desire to strive for self-actualization and achieve all their dreams. So here you have two main humanistic psychologists. The first one is Carl Rogers. That is, they have an inherent tendency to self-actualize. Then Carl Rogers has talked about two basic assumptions, that human behavior is goal-directed and human beings want to strive for self-actualization. Now, if there will be congruence between the real self and the ideal self, a person is going to have healthy personality. But if there would be any sort of incongruence or imbalance or a major gap between real self and ideal self, then his or her personality would be, susceptible to abnormalities. So, and for this healthy self concept, we should provide the individual with unconditional positive regard as well as his therapy which he has developed, that is called client-centered therapy, in which he starts with non-directive questioning, gentle questioning. We would be discussing that in the therapy section in chapter 5. And next is your Abraham Maslow's theory, hierarchy of needs, which I had already covered in my videos of class 11. So you can go and study from there. And so this completes the approaches to study personality. In the last part of this chapter, I will cover personality assessment. So till then, bye. Happy learning. Please like, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you.